Hi there, and welcome. It's Psychic Cynthia here, Spiritual Psychic Cynthia. And welcome, fellow cosmic seekers and travelers of the spiritual psychic path. And happy spring, yay! It's about a week after the equinox when I'm filming this, and I'm just so glad that spring has sprouted. And that with each passing day, at least here where I live at, it will be getting a little warmer and warmer. This is your Friday forecast, by the way. And in this forecast, we're going to be focusing on the full moon, this weekend's full moon. So happy full moon in Libra, yay! And this weekend's full moon, the full moon for the month of March, it's happening at the end though, so it's really creating a cycle that goes into April. So anyway, this weekend's full moon is going to be exact on this Sunday, and I believe that's March 28th. Let me check and make sure that's correct. Yes, so full moon in Libra, 8 degrees Libra, exact on March 28th, 2021. That's Sunday, and the time that will be exact is 1:48 p.m. Central Daylight Time in the USA. So if you're in the Eastern, that's 12:48 p.m. So the full moon will actually be exact in the day, not at night. With it happening so close to the noon hour, I think that in terms of if you're going to be doing your full moon rituals, or especially if you're going to be setting outside some water or some salt or jewelry or tarot decks or anything else you want to get charged with the moonlight, including yourself, if you're going to go out and do moonlight bathing, really either Saturday or Sunday this weekend will work well for that, because either way you look at it, the nighttime on those nights is going to be about halfway between when the full moon is exact. So that's just a little bit logistics for those of you who are more on the ritual path or the magical path, and want to soak up the light of the full moon. Saturday or Sunday will work. You get 2 nights this month. So full moon in Libra. By the way, it's exact, again, I want to say, on March 28th. But that doesn't mean this forecast is only good for that one day or that one moment in time. The way it works for these full moons, you can think of one full moon cycle to the next, and that these energies are good for a full lunar month. But really, truly, with the full moon, it is very intense for about a 2-week period. So these particular energies will be very activated, and activated is the right word, because that's what a full moon does. It triggers things, it activates things, it shines a spotlight down on certain specific areas of life based on the signs, of course, involved. And notice I said signs with an S as in plural, because although the moon will be in one sign, in this case Libra, in order to form a full moon, there has to be an opposition between the sun and the moon in 2 different signs. So when we look at the full moon in Libra, we have to also look at the sign of the sun, which is Aries, the opposite sign in this case. So this full moon in Libra will be bringing your spotlight for the next 2 weeks, okay? It's a 2-week activation, and you want to think about it, really you start feeling it before the full moon. So I would say the beginning of this cycle is roughly a couple of days before, since the full moon is exact on March 28th. Let's say it begins around March 26th, which is before this video will even come out. But the cycle runs roughly March 26th to the time of the new moon, the next new moon, which is going to be April 11th. So what is this cycle? It's a cycle of activation, of intensification in the realm of partnerships, in the realm of balancing the need to connect and develop and strengthen the self versus tending to our partnerships, tending to our relationships. There is a deep urge right now with all of this Aries energy. Not only is the sun in Aries because we've had the equinox, but we also have Venus in Aries and Chiron in Aries. And these will be conjuncting the full moon. So lots of strengthening to the sign of Aries, which is a sign of the self. It's a sign of independence. It's a sign of wanting to do it your own way, wanting to follow your own path. And Aries tends to focus on the self and the self's agenda, which is not a bad thing, because we need that. Every one of us needs some focus on the self. We need to be self-orientated, self-centered in a positive spiritual sense. Self-generating is what I would say. Aries is very good for that. That's why we say the sun is exalted in Aries, because those solar energies, when placed in the sign of Aries, create a wonderful awareness that we all can be self-generating, and we don't have to look to other people to meet all our needs. But there's a flip side to this, and that's what this full moon in Libra is going to bring up, is the flip side, is that even though we are self-generating, and even though it is important to be independent and to, say, spend time developing our own personal goals, brainstorming and planning, we don't exist in a bubble. So we have to include other people in our plans for development. We have to think of others and consider our relationships. We have to consider the effect that our actions will have as we plot our path of self-development. How will that affect our partnerships? And then the other flip side to that is we have to consider how our partnerships affect us. How do your partnerships affect you? So we need to tend to all of this at this time, and this will be activated. And, with the Aries energies being part of this, and I would say even to some extent the Libra, there is a tendency to go to extremes. Libra is the sign of balance, but not really just balance. It's a sign of seeking balance. So with this full moon happening this weekend and setting off this 2-week period of intensification of energies, you're going to find that the need to seek balance and to get rebalance is very strong right now, which means probably in some area of life or another you have become unbalanced, or gone to the extreme. So, and maybe for some of you this is, not as intense. Maybe you've only become a little, unbalanced. So it's going to be easier to move back to center. Libra is all about the quest for moving towards center, for harmonizing, for bringing people, places, and things together in oneness. There is a great energy of diplomacy with Libra. So that's what is being activated now, but that doesn't mean you'll naturally have diplomacy. It means the desire for peace is stronger now and in the next 2 weeks, and the need for it. So those are some thoughts about this full moon in Libra that I have for you. And let me check my notes and see what other thoughts I had earlier. I always enjoy just channeling through right when I'm making the videos, and then I see, what I wrote in my notes. I did cover, the diplomacy aspect. There is a need for greater diplomacy right now, greater empathy and understanding. Around this time of this activation, I just want to say this full moon for the next couple weeks, so up until April 11th, you will find that you can make much more headway at times by being the person who understands, by being the person who has empathy. That can be a great gift to others. Now, sometimes you need to make a stand for yourself, and that is what the energy of Aries is about, is standing up for oneself and standing up for one's path. But then Libra teaches us how to do that in a diplomatic, dare I say, articulate way, in an elegant way. Libra is such an elegant, artful sign. And I don't know, think about this in your own life. If you've had a conflict with somebody, and by the way, conflicts will be activated because Aries and Libra are both signs of conflicts. I bet you didn't know that. Well, a lot of people know that about Aries because it's ruled by Mars. And, of course, he was the warrior god. So, yes, conflicts are activated in the time of Aries, but also around any activation of Libra, because Libra is the sign where we see many legal disputes settled. So Libra still deals with conflicts and battles, but they're fought in a more diplomatic way. And where I was going to go with this, though, is, if you've ever been confronted by somebody in your life, let's say somebody wants you to do something differently, or they're going to ask something of you, ask you to change your behavior or to consider a different point of view. Think about that. And, when are you more likely to be open to hearing them? In other words, if that person comes at you full on assault, right? And just, it feels like they're attacking you and they're being, very aggressive and, just not very much fun. Doesn't that make you feel defensive, and aren't you less likely to give in or to say yes or to even want to hear what that person has to say? Whereas, if a person comes at you with more diplomacy, if they show sensitivity to you and your position and empathy, that can open our heart chakras. And I don't mean in a manipulative way. I suppose that could be the shadow side of Libra, and there is that shadow side of Libra. But there's also a higher vibration of this Libra full moon that we can all step into. And that is this higher heart. It's a merging of the heart and the rationale. And seeing things logically, yes, but also seeing them with empathy, considering others' perspectives. And even if you are currently brainstorming for plans for yourself, consider other people that this might affect. In a direct way. If you're thinking about making a major purchase, and you're part of a relationship, or your family, consider how that will affect them and what those possible repercussions might be. You can't always know, and I understand that, but just consider what you might know. Utilize your intuition, your third eye, and your inner heart to feel, if you can feel good about that, okay? So again, it's balancing the needs of the self with the effects that will have on partnership. It's having, a greater attention to having empathy and understanding for others, because that will make waves for you right now. That's, if you want to be successful, you want to be prosperous, or, just more spiritually centered, you're going to get there a lot quicker right now and be able to step outside of the dramas, be able to step outside of all these conflicts and annoyances and frustrations. It's all around. And by the way, if you feel some of that, you're not alone. I have woken up, I think just ever since around the time the sun entered Aries about a week ago, I find that it's easier for me to get irritated a little bit. Now, I have an Aries moon, so that makes sense for my own chart, but also I just think it's easier to get a little bit irritated when we're under the influence of the Aries energy. So, which is not all a bad thing, because if we get irritated and take action in a positive sense, then that can be good. If something's irritating us, and then we can think about something constructive we can do to take care of that. That's good, okay? I think where the real danger comes in with this full moon, other than, conflict is heightened and emotions are heightened, because we do have a Venus and a Chiron, tie-in, a blending. With the Chiron, and I won't go a lot into this, but with that Chiron conjuncting the sun at the time of the full moon, so that means it's going to be opposite of the moon. There are a lot of unhealed emotional wounds and traumas coming up. And I've even seen some of this in myself lately, and there have been some things from a long time ago I thought about. I thought about this weird episode I had in a park one time with a gentleman, and it was a weird misunderstanding, and he got all offended. And, I kind of felt bad about that. And it's just somebody I didn't know, and I felt bad about having left it that way. And I doubt he even thinks about it, okay? But it's just one of those little unresolved things that kind of pops up unexpectedly. So I was able to take some flower essences and kind of meditate around that and send some love and light to this gentleman. And, I don't know, some stuff like that may come up for you. That was more where I had worried myself, or I might have hurt somebody unintentionally. Now, you may feel you are the person who has been hurt. And you know what? If that's the case, you can still send love and light to yourself. And you could even send love and light to that person who you think hurt you, if you wanted to. Okay, you don't have to, though. I mean, I think when you're feeling hurt, the most important first step is to send love and light to you. But over the long term, it might help to seek to have understanding from the cosmic perspective about it. So maybe that's another video for another time. Alrighty, well, full moon in Libra coming up this weekend. Happy full moon. In spite of all the tensions and dramas these full moons bring up, just remember, they bring up a lot of energy that can expand our souls. And, you know, I find, just a little secret here, if you will connect with the energies of the moon, even just by watching this video, actually, you're taking the time to consciously connect with the cycle and the energies of the full moon. That helps to release the tension, and it really is a portal. When we turn our consciousness to observe these cycles, it can be a portal for you to step into the higher spiritual vibrations of the shift. And it also really helps to observe and mark the passing of the full moon with some kind of ceremony or meditation. I personally prefer drumming, not just because I am a percussionist, but because drumming has been used since the ancient days to mark the passings of the full moons. And there's a lot of energy, okay, that comes up in these full moons. So drumming or dancing or chanting, these three things, they can very effectively help you to release any tension that comes up. Also just to help clear out those emotions that start churning, whatever the signs are. There's a lot of emotional churning around the time of full moons, and especially with, you know, this happening in the Libra sign. And we're seeking balance, but we're also maybe feeling unbalanced, and, you know, we're a lot of touchy issues right now around partnerships. And remember, don't neglect your partnerships, okay, just to focus on yourself right now. You may be tempted. It's not a good idea. The people who are going to do well with these shifts right now in the next couple of weeks are going to be the people who are diplomatic, the people who collaborate. Of course, you have to collaborate wisely, focusing on cooperation, partnerships, meeting others halfway, encouraging others to meet you halfway, you know, the art of compromise, those kinds of things. But along with that, do your ceremonies, do your rituals, drum, sing, chant, dance, and of course connect with your ancestors, your angels and your guides. Ask them for help if there is something that's bothering you. They are part of your partnerships. They are part of who you need to collaborate with. If you're not collaborating with your angels, your guides, your ancestors, then you're missing so much. You're missing literally a whole dimension of life. Okay, on that note, I'm sending you love and blessings and asking for you to have as much peace, as much beauty, grace, elegance, and diplomacy as possible in the weeks ahead. Bright blessings.